What's going on, everybody? It's Coach Max with Max Impact Fitness, and welcome to our first episode of Beyond the Rep. So, we all know what happens during the workout classes, but what really happens after the music stops. Today, I'm going to be sitting down with one of our very own personal trainers here at Fitness Evolution, Laurel. He is a fitness coach, health coach, and 8-time competitor in bodybuilding. So today, we're going to talk about the iron mindset, what goes on behind the mind of a bodybuilder when they are trying to work, when they are in prep, when they are getting ready for show, and when they step out on that stage, and what that process looks like, because nobody really ever talks about it, right? We all going to post to our stories, our Instagrams, and all of the things to see what it looks like when it's glamorous, but maybe it's just not so glamorous behind the scenes. So today I'm going to sit down with him, and we're going to talk about having the iron mindset and what that looks like. My bad. Okay, so today we're going to talk about bodybuilding, prep, what it looks like before the show, what the chaos is like behind stage. I'm here today with Josh. He has competed a total of 8 times.
I think six.
6 times.
I think six.
Has won several shows and placed in them. So he would have firsthand knowledge on like what that looks like. So I don't want to run down your resume, so you go ahead and tell people your accomplishments with bodybuilding.
That's tough. Well, I've been a trainer, I think 14 years now. God dang. Yeah, 14 years. I know. Don't remind me. Been a trainer 14 years. I've been the training manager at LA Fitness. I've co-owned the juice bar. I've trained 2 sports teams. You name it in the fitness industry, I've probably done it. As far as different forms of training, I used to do powerlifting, used to do CrossFit, functional training, did bodybuilding. Now I'm doing high rocks. So just different forms of training. Like I love working out. I love helping people transform their bodies and minds. And yeah, so I started to get into bodybuilding because of actually the recommendation of another trainer. So I used to train at this one gym called Sport Fit, and one of the other trainers, female trainer, she was actually a bodybuilder.
Okay.
And she was like, Josh, you actually have a good physique. What have you ever thought about competing? And at that time, I felt like I had a decent body, but not like exceptional, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? She planted the seed. I kind of like thought about it for a while, and I was like, yeah, I think I would like to compete for the experience of it.
Right.
And at that time, like on the forefront, some of the people that I remember that were really good was like Sadiq. There's this one guy, like men's physique was becoming really big.
Okay.
So I feel like the mass monster bodybuilding era was kind of dying out, where like you saw huge guys with a ton of muscle with like distended guts. I feel like that was not. Yeah, I feel like that era was dying, and now like men's physique was coming in, and I was like, you know what, I could see myself doing that. So I was like, let me hire a coach.
Okay.
Because I wanted a level of experience in that field that I knew I didn't have. I'm sorry, I'm smacking this. And so I hired a coach for the nutrition.
Okay.
And the training, because I didn't know if I needed to change my training in order to get to the next level. So I think I might have done it for 12 weeks leading up to the first show. The first show was like local, it was regional.
Okay. So local to Maryland.
Local to Maryland,
Okay.
yeah. And I thought I was probably, I don't know, maybe like 8 or 9% body fat because I've always been kind of lean. And I felt by the time of the show, I felt puny. Like I think I got down to like 160, 155 pounds. At that time, I hadn't been that since like high school. And mind you, at this time, I might have been like 24, 25.
Okay.
And
So
so
still fairly Young.
very young. Yeah, still young, but that first show, and I placed second in that show. And not to mention, I also did. It was OCB. So
Okay.
you have a few different federations in bodybuilding.
Okay.
OCB is more natural.
Okay.
NPC is not drug tested.
Okay.
So OCB, you have to take, as far as I remember it, you took a lie detector test, and then if you placed,
It's
yeah,
that deep.
well, yeah, like because they don't want people cheating. And then
Fair.
if you win, if you place, they ask for a pee sample. I think, if I remember correctly. It's been like over 10 years, but I think that was how they did it back then. Now,
Okay.
I will say, I felt like my coach just kind of gave me a generic meal plan that she gave to all her competitors,
Okay.
which I didn't like. She never showed up for the show, so I didn't feel supported in that regard. But I will say, I feel like being exposed to a certain level of fitness, like taking my body to a certain place, forced me then from that point on to say like, now I can't retreat or backtrack from this place because I've now exposed myself to what I'm capable of.
Right.
On the other side of the spectrum, I don't think I was ever. It's such a spiritual experience, really, like taking your body from decent to now exceptional. Like I remember just because everything in your life at that time revolves around training, like getting enough rest, eating very specific macros and calories, like savoring every little taint of grain of rice. Like it's just like very, very specific. Like I remember having to measure out how many almonds I was gonna eat, and I was like, "This is some bullshit." Like, and I remember
I'm just used to eating the whole pack of almonds.
And the sad part is, I remember the exact amount of almonds. It was 16 almonds, and I was like, one, two, just savoring every little. I just remember thinking to myself, like, why the fuck am I doing this? But on stage, I really felt super lean. Like I remember seeing like veins and muscles and striations I had never seen before, which was amazing. But then the after effects of like, oh, and then my first exposure to peak week, I remember feeling like complete ass, just
like
struggling for
tired or
hungry because you're burning so many more calories than you're ingesting. I think I might have been on like, I don't know, 14, 1,500 calories, and I was burning like 3,000, 4,000 calories for that day.
Goodness.
And most of what you're doing, obviously, like you're still working out, you're still doing like 30, 45, even an hour of cardio, but steady state, because you want to like get the last little bit of fat off while still maintaining as much muscle as possible. So your protein is super, super high. Still making, you're drinking a shit ton of water. So at that time, I think like I was drinking almost 2 gallons of water a day, because you're trying to one, flush out toxins, everything. Also trying to stay not so okay. As your protein content goes up, you have to have fiber and water to offset so you don't get constipated.
Okay.
So
you're trying to keep your digestive
yeah, you try to keep everything moving
while doing
like
a bunch of abnormal shit
to
your body.
Not to mention, obviously, you're sweating a lot. And two, I think the thing that's not really also talked about is the day before the show, you cut off all water. Yeah, you want to stop drinking. So basically, like you spike your water, you stop drinking water, so that by the time of the show you're dry, and you have what's called a shrink wrap effect. So like then right before the show you carb up so that your muscles expand, because as your body absorbs the carbs that you haven't had the week of the show, your body then fills back out and gives like this shrink wrap effect to the muscles, like looking more full. But there is a science to it where a lot of trainers will give you salt, some will give you more carbs. So it really depends on your genetics. Like I'm not very sugar sensitive, whereas other people may look very like gut heavy, bloated if they eat a lot of sugar. But that's just maybe my metabolism or whatever. So I think right before the show, I took a picture of my body and I was like, what do I need? She was like, you need to fill out. I think she told me to eat like 2 cheeseburgers and something else. And I mean, to her credit, I kind of filled out a little bit, but after the show, after the show,
Yes, post
yeah,
post show meals. What do
post.
those look like?
I had, I think like so after the show, they have like either cake or donuts. I probably had like 5 donuts. I asked my mother to make like lasagna, steak, ice cream, anything, cornbread, anything you could fucking imagine. I just remember eating so much and feeling so sick afterwards.
Oh my god!
I was like, why did I do this to myself?
I can believe it, but it's
But-
those things that you just couldn't have.
Yeah,
without
like I remember dreaming about food the last like few
dreaming
weeks.
about
Yeah, like it was. I was like, I'm so deprived now. The fact that I'm dreaming about food is crazy. But the month after, I did it horribly wrong. So you're supposed to what's called reverse diet, which is like slowly increasing your calories to go back up. Because what ends up happening for a lot of competitors is they actually eat into their body's own metabolism. Because if you stay in a deficit for too long, your body will kind of match how many calories you're eating versus how much you're burning.
Oh.
Does that make sense?
So does that mean it becomes like ineffective even if you are in a deficit? It doesn't
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So I don't recommend staying too low for too long.
Right.
So what ended up happening for me is I actually gained like 20 pounds after the show because I went back to my normal diet as opposed to slowly increasing it as
Right.
my activity
You was just
increased.
like, I'm hungry.
Yeah, I was like, fuck this shit. I'm eating.
I'm
So,
hungry.
so imagine dieting for like 3 to 6 months for 2 minutes on stage just to fuck it up within 1 month. I was like, yeah.
Oh my god.
So a lot of lessons that first show. The second one, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do my own diet.
Okay.
So I started studying nutrition.
Okay.
Go really in depth, and I was like, okay, these are like the things, the pitfalls that I remember the first time. These are the things that I feel like I could improve upon. So I did my own diet. The second show, my own training. The second show, to me, I was probably the best condition I've ever been in my opinion.
Okay.
And
That's
I
no
feel
shade
like
to his last coach.
no
I just
shade.
thought he did a
Well,
really
that
great
is
job.
actually a lot of shade to her. Fuck you. No, I'm just joking.
Oh goodness. Well,
No,
hey.
it was shade from the standpoint of I feel like any coach that's out there, if you do it for the money, you should not be doing it. I feel like you have to, if you care enough about people and their transformations and their health, you have to at least customize slightly to that person.
Right.
Like learning that client and really trying to cater to that person. Otherwise, it's like, to a certain extent, like if you have a program that you feel like works, okay, cool. But everyone is different and you have to be able to tweak it to that person. Don't just say like, I'm paying, in most people, you pay good money like for coaching. So
I hear that bodybuilding is like really expensive between the coach, the suit, the meal plans, all of the things that tie into it. That it can get very expensive
I feel like
for a
it's,
show that's only gonna last a day.
it can be very expensive in certain regards. I feel like it's less expensive for men than it is women. Women have to buy the suit. The suits are expensive. But for men,
The hair, the makeup, the spray
yeah.
tans, all the things.
The spray tan. I look like fucking Morris Chestnut for like a week. I remember watching it all and just like seeing all this black go in the drain, and I was like, I was like, my melanin.
What happened? It's okay. Savor it for you.
Yeah, but it was yes. I just feel like it can be very expensive, especially if you hire a coach. Because at my first show, I hired a coach. I was paying her for nutrition, sometimes posing. So it's like there's a lot. You have to get specific swim trunks. Honestly, as you do it more and more, you're like, I don't need this shit. Like I know what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
Now I will say this: for guys that also are on gear, I've been out natural my whole career. Like I've never taken anything. But for guys that are on gear, and no shade to those people, like if you feel like that's your lifestyle, by all means, do your thing. I'm not trying to hinder you. But for me, I never got into it, like into working out for the aesthetics. Honestly, it was more for my my mental health. So I felt like, why would I jeopardize my longevity in my health, I feel like I'd be contradicting why I got into it.
Right.
Like to me, looking good is a byproduct of working out. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Right.
and that was the other thing I learned from my first show is a lot of the judging is subjective. Subjective. I always get confused between subjective and objective. I'm like, fuck it, y'all know what I'm saying. So I feel like it's
We
subjective.
didn't say we were experts here.
Exactly. But a lot of the judges, I feel like, have conflicting desires on what they feel like is ideal.
Right.
Some cater to the bigger guys, some cater to the leaner. Some are more about proportions, how small the waist is compared to the shoulders. Like,
Right.
and then the other thing I really disliked about the men's physique was I feel like you couldn't express your posing as much as I would like. Like there's certain set poses you have to do.
Okay.
A lat spread, turn to the side, quarter turn. Like,
Ooh.
yeah, it's like very rigid. Whereas,
Like very stiff modeling.
yes. So I didn't necessarily like that. So I guess in bodybuilding, you're allowed a little more like free license to kind of like enter in how you'd like to pose. And that's why I think they eventually then created classic physique to be the interim between men's physique and bodybuilding.
Okay.
So like that classic 80s, early 90s look of like very muscular, but also not
But not Arnold.
well, to look like Arnold, but not look
Okay.
like, let's say like the Dorian Yates, like the huge, or Ronnie Coleman's were like gigantic and just almost unachievable
Bodies,
naturally.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I did the second show, still stayed in the OCB.
Okay.
Placed second again, but low key felt robbed because so I placed second in the open. No, second in, I think it was like novice.
Okay.
Maybe first in novice, but second in the open.
Okay.
So open is like everyone.
Like from all categories,
Yeah,
or
well,
just
in the men's physique.
Okay.
The person that I beat in novice, we get back on stage right after. I placed second behind him in the open. I was like,
same group of judges.
same groups. I'm like,
That's interesting.
I just beat him. We just got back on
They're
stage?
Like, we're on a different level.
Yeah,
here,
I'm like,
okay.
how did that make sense? And the crowd actually started booing. So I was like, and that's when I realized, to me, now granted, my perspective going in is all I can do is bring my best package. The rest is up to God. Like I'm not gonna. But I was really disappointed because I felt like there were a lot of politics, because I started to realize a lot of the judges and some of the teams that would come into with their people place very highly, and some of them honestly to me weren't in very good condition. I was just like, you're placing well because one of the judges is a part of your team.
So it was more so like a bias panel.
Yeah, so I didn't really like that part of it then. But also I feel like in the OCB, no knock to the OCB, I feel like the competition wasn't as high as I would like it.
Okay.
So I was like, let me try my hand in NPC, although I am natural, just to see where I stack up against guys that could potentially be on something.
Right.
And again, place second. I was like, what is up with this second place and me continuing to get this shit? But because I qualified for regionals, I was like, I qualified then for nationals.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, I'm gonna try my hand at nationals. And I think honestly I did another show and I got second again. And I was like, Jesus Christ. Like, can we get something other than second? But so for nationals, my goal was to get bigger because I knew the guys I was going to be stepping on stage with were going to be bigger than me. And by that time, it was a few years since I had started. I gained a little more muscle mass. And I felt like at that time, there was certain guys emerging in like the national stage of men's physique that were a lot bigger than I remember. So like there was this guy named Brandon Hendrickson who was like my idol.
He was the
he
bodybuilding
was
god.
like the pinnacle of what men's physique was. He had such a great physique, and there was a few guys. I think I don't know his name, but I know his IG. It was like Lucky Libra or something like that.
Look him up, y'all.
Something Libra. But he was from New York. Great physique as well. Very like B taper. Like some of those guys, I remember just thinking to myself, like they have such not just a great physique, but great genetics. And I will say this: as you get leaner, I feel like you get more and more picky with your body. And I feel like almost the leaner you get, the more body dysmorphia you have.
So you feel like that's something that comes with the territory?
It does. It does. And I feel like it took me almost like years to get to a place of like, I love my body and I love where it's at and realize that I'm probably my biggest critic.
We all are.
And so it's like, you can be so hard on yourself at times. So it's like, I had a fucking bun cake. What the hell? Like, I'm a fat ass. Like, you
sound like me twice a week.
Yeah, it's like
Already,
you just
twice a week.
so.
I'm not no bodybuilder. Not even close, actually.
And I would say, in order to be, I feel like successful as a bodybuilder, you have to have a certain temperament and an extremely high level of discipline. Like I remember one of my friends still jokes about it. We went to Miami just to kind of like have fun.
Yeah, let loose.
In my suitcase, I had all my meal preps. I opened up my suitcase.
Meal preps to TSA.
Yeah, and literally, they stopped me at TSA and they opened it up and they were like, "What is this?" I was like, "Chicken breast and brown rice." And so I was like, nothing is gonna stop these gains.
Yeah. So it's like one of those things that like once you start and you're in it, like you're just like tunnel.
You have to. There's no way around it. And I would say like honestly, I feel like that's what led me away from bodybuilding is because so much of your life falls by the wayside during that time period. You don't go out as much. You can't hang around the same people because you feel like, at least in my case, I couldn't really party. I can't drink. I can't eat a whole bunch of sugar. I need my rest. I'm fucking tired all the goddamn time. So it's like, I felt like I was sacrificing so much of my life. And I really had to ask myself, like, why am I doing this shit?
Yeah.
I enjoyed competing. I enjoyed taking my body to a certain place. But then on the other side of the spectrum, I was like, what am I giving up for this?
Right.
And I feel like it was all of the fun and like the enjoyment of life. And so I was like, am I doing this for accolades? Am I doing this to go pro? Why am I really doing this? And so these are the questions I felt like I was asking myself before my last show, which was Nationals. And
did you ever have the idea of like, I want to go pro?
I felt like I did for a while. And then I felt like, this may sound silly, but I felt like my idea for going pro was for two reasons. One, to get a larger social media following. Okay. And then two, I felt like it was to get the potential sponsorship from whether it be a brand, a supplement company, something else. And this is like at the beginning stages of Instagram.
Oh, okay.
And as Instagram started to grow, I realized like I really don't need to go pro in order to gain a following. There's plenty of people with mid physiques that just give good information.
Right.
And
or take good pictures.
Yeah.
Whatever the case may be.
They know their angles. Right. Like that people that have won shows have far better physiques, but have minuscule followings. You know what I mean? That's so it's crazy. Like that doesn't guarantee you that you're gonna get a following. And so I was like, okay, well, let's see how this goes. So I go to Nationals. It was in Miami.
Okay.
So right before the show, the day before, it was like a Saturday. On Friday morning, or maybe on Friday morning, I went to go to the beach. But early in the morning, I had like a sauna suit on, sweatpants, trash bag, because I'm trying to sweat out all the last little bit of water that I have. Woo. So I'm on the beach running. It's like, I don't know, it might have been like 8 or 9 in the morning. It was early.
You're allowed to work out the day of the show?
The day before.
Oh, okay, because I've seen like videos and I don't know like how realistic it is, and that's why I'm like touching on this topic because I'm not a bodybuilder by any means. I know people who have competed, i.e. you, Ben, you know, Alicia, people that like I know personally who have done this, but I've never like been there to see the experience. Like I've seen in movies where like you got these big buff ass dudes backstage in speedos with
Yeah,
dumbbells.
pumping up. Yeah,
Like
that's real. That's
they
real.
really do that.
Yeah, we
That's
really do
crazy
that.
work.
Now I will say this: I feel like I wouldn't put myself on the same plane as a bodybuilder.
Okay.
Like men's physique isn't as big as some of the bodybuilders. Just to put it in perspective, like, and there's levels to this. Like,
Right.
so I'm gonna expound on it a little bit. So as I'm running, I see someone out of the corner of my eye that's huge,
Like
and I like huge,
okay.
and I look to my side and I'm like, Chris, and he was like, "You're competing?" It was Chris Bumstead. I don't know if you know who that is.
I do not.
It was the guy who won the most Olympias in this modern era of bodybuilding. He was guest posing at the Nationals. So this is the I think the year after he won the first Olympia. So his face was like he was becoming the face of bodybuilding in my mind. So to see him, I was like ecstatic. Like I'm meeting
Right.
the new Arnold of this era.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was like such an experience to meet him. We were chopping it up, and I actually asked him. I was like, well, first I was like, it's great to meet you, yada yada. We were chopping it up. Nicest guy in the world, and I was like, honestly, I'm seeing how I stack up naturally against a lot of guys that are potentially unnatural. And he was like, honestly, bro, if you want to make a living out of this, he was like, unless you have the genetics of the gods, you'd be hard pressed to step on stage at the Olympia or pro level and compete with them
Right.
without taking something. Just being honest with you,
Wow,
and it's
that's
just
rough.
it's just because they allow the level of muscle that you have. So, for example, like to put it in perspective, I was stepping on stage maybe 178, 180,
Okay.
and that's like 3% body fat, no water. Like that's how much I weighed. Some of the guys at my height,
How tall
so
are you?
they have different weight class, like height classes.
Okay. So how tall are you?
We're like 5'11".
Okay.
So it might have been like 5'10" to I don't know 6 foot or 6'1". They were stepping on stage like 200, 210, 3% body fat, 20 or 30 pounds more muscle than me, and I'm like, how do I compete with that? Because same.
So do you feel like even though like they have like the numbers, right, when it comes to the muscle mass and all the things, that maybe it's not always judged by that, that it is more of the aesthetic of how it looks?
So I will say sometimes to me, guys that are natural have better lines. Just
Okay.
because you're bigger doesn't always mean that you're better. Like some guys to me that look bigger look worse just because of like look overly. I don't know. Sometimes you in my opinion you fuck up the that you fuck up the aesthetic a little bit.
That was a blooper, y'all.
Yeah, Cooper.
Yeah.
I feel like you mess up the aesthetic sometimes when you get overly big.
Okay.
But that's my personal opinion. But growing up, I remember really liking like the Frank Zanes, the bodybuilders that were very like tiny,
Okay.
like slim, because I feel like they
Thin.
more fit my build. Other guys may be a little stockier
Right.
and
So
naturally have a bigger build.
right.
Like for example, there's another old school bodybuilder, Mike Metzger, that I loved, but to me, we didn't necessarily have the same frame. So yeah, another part of it is like mastering your body type
Right.
in catering to that. So, long story short, we chopped it up, we talked, we took a picture, flicked it up, and I remember the seeds that he planted. Then I basically thought to myself like, do I really want to go pro and why? I remember asking myself that, and we did the show. I did not place in nationals, but it was because I think there was 2,000 people in my class. 2,000. It was just so many guys, and they all
So
looked
how long
amazing.
was the show with 2,000 people?
Just in my class, that's
Oh.
not including bikini and whoever
Oh,
else. That was
okay.
literally just in my class, and I feel like also the bigger you get, the more posing played a role in accentuating your body. I feel like I could have been better at posing, and also like the small fine tuning played a lot more of a role as far as like like how you carb your timing or time your carb, Jesus, time your carbing and things like that,
Okay.
leading up to the show as far as like when to fill out, when to add salt, things like that. So it definitely there's levels to it, but I feel like again, just the exposure of that, you can't help but backtrack. So even after I finished and stopped bodybuilding and decided to do other things like powerlifting, I felt like I couldn't regress past that too much because
Right.
this is how I identify myself now.
Right.
I'm now I will say like my one issue with bodybuilding is a lot of times show muscles and being aesthetic aren't always functional. Like just because you can bench 315 or bench 225 for 12 doesn't mean you can run without being out of breath.
That is very true.
And I remember at my biggest before I would cut, I remember walking up the stairs and I'm like out of breath and I'm like, I probably shouldn't be out of breath right now.
Mhm.
And so it's like just because a lot of the muscles that you build are very like linear in one range of motion, single plane, and so it was great for what it was, but I feel like as I got older, I wanted to perform well, not just look good.
Not just look good.
Yeah.
Aesthetics.
Yeah.
So, all in all, you would say bodybuilding is an extreme sport. Because it sounds like you're putting your body, your mind, some of everything
Yeah.
through something like
You
that
are.
you're not used to every day.
You are, and granted, you like it, you love it. You to me, okay, it's two types of people that do it. Initially, when you start it, I feel like you're testing the waters of okay, is this something that I would like to continue? Most people, I feel like, do it and then like, okay, this was a nice experience, and then some people genuinely fall in love with it
Right.
and get plugged into like it is a community. And granted, so many of the people are so encouraging. Like so many of like the old heads at that time put me on to certain techniques, how to lift, how to do this, and honestly, it was such a great experience. And it is a tight knit group of people, but I will say also like because of how community driven it is, sometimes you can forget that there's other forms of training outside of that
Right.
to get healthy, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because a lot of bodybuilders think like bodybuilding is the holy grail of fitness. You know what I mean? Like this is the only way
It
to
only
train.
is if you want to be a bodybuilder.
Exactly.
That's just my opinion. Like I said, not a bodybuilder by any means, but I think it's all in all of what.
Yeah, but bodybuilders for sure are very, very strict, very disciplined, very committed, and I think you learn a lot through training like that for sure. There's a level of tunnel vision you have to have in order to be successful. And to me, like in order to reach exceptional levels of success, you have to have like such an intense focus that everything else falls by the wayside. But in that regard, you have to have people around you that are understanding of what you're doing. Like I remember at that time I was in a relationship and she wasn't in that. And so I feel like some of the things that I was doing, she was like, why you at the gym 2-3 hours a day? Why you eating like this? We can't go out for drinks. We never go out. And I'm just
Why
like,
you're not talking to me no more? Why
I'm
you
like,
always sleep for? What's making you tired?
pretty much. Exactly. So it's like, you definitely have to have a partner or people around you that understand like that
it.
level of commitment because it is a huge
A
commitment.
huge commitment.
And if I had to go back and do it, I feel like I would give bigger breaks in between the shows
Okay.
because it allows time to like one, let the body recover because it is so hard on the body for a period, like just because of the amount of diet and things like that. But I will say like I do recommend anyone to do it at least once because I feel like taking your body to that place is such a spiritual journey where you learn a lot about yourself.
Yeah.
I remember, and this is, I mean, no funny stuff, but I remember a lot of times I would be on the stair climber or on the treadmill listening to something, and then I would just start crying because I feel like you're taking your body to a place where it's like, I don't want to be here. I don't feel like doing this, but I'm doing it anyway. Yeah, because you begin to realize I'm not my emotions. I am not how I feel. I'm gonna perform and do my best regardless of that.
Right.
And you begin to realize like you tap into a different, you find that dog within you. Like,
Yeah.
no, everyone has that. Like
You just gotta
I'm going to
want it.
get this shit done, whether or not I feel like this shit. And so I recommend anyone to do that because you learn that you have a second gear within you to tap into. So yeah,
That's what's up. Well, thank you so
it's my
much,
pleasure.
Josh. We learned a lot today. Josh, go ahead and tell them your handles where they can follow you on Instagram. Don't be weird.
I believe it's that trainer Josh on IG. Also TikTok. I'm gonna be on TikTok more. But yeah, so reach out if you have any questions, and I hope to hear from you. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you.